I was able to watch the film. I absolutely loved it.
And the film now is actually it's actually qualified for a potential Academy run, and so we'll see what happens with that. I have no idea.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brick by Brick podcast, the community podcast where we build community one conversation at a time. I am your host, Brad the Brick Critchfield, and tonight we're diving deep into the heart of independent filmmaking. Our guest, Daniel Persitz, is a filmmaker, writer, director whose latest project, Key of Genius, is now making its way through the short film circuit. It's a moving story about mentorship, music, and the extraordinary journey of Derek Paravicini, the world-renowned musical savant who was born blind and autistic. It's a story of triumph, resilience, and the power of human connection. And what makes it even more special is it was filmed right here at Bellflower High School, bringing a cinematic spotlight to our own community. We're going to be talking about how this film came to life, what it means to tell stories grounded in real emotion, and how independent creators like Daniel are redefining what it means to build meaningful art from the ground up. Daniel Persitz, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks. I'm thrilled to be here.
Glad to have you. I just had Dan, the other Dan. I told him I don't know if you guys had a conversation of who gets to be Daniel, but it's very confusing in an email thread.
It's true. I mean, we I think in person sometimes refer to ourselves as the Dans.
I like it.
I also do go by Daniel, and I've never heard him referred to as Daniel, so I think he probably gets the Dan crown and I get the Daniel, but I think together we are the Dans.
I like it. So we had about an hour-long podcast earlier this evening, and we were talking about the film. We talked about a bunch of stuff. We ended up going down a whole musical route and talking about musical scores in films, and it was a good time. But I want to talk more about how this project came to be and what inspired you to do it. Well, can you tell me a little bit about the project?
Yeah, of course. So this came on my radar from my mom. So I come from a family of classical musicians. I've been playing the violin since I was 5. I still play it to this very day in the Santa Monica Symphony. My mom, who's a professional violinist, she's always sending me these, YouTube clips of various musicians. And it's usually, good stuff. So she sends me this 5-minute thing about Derek. Never heard about him in my life. And in this clip, they talk about this guy who can play any piece of music he's ever heard in his life, even if it was from 30 years ago. He can play it in any key, in any style. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this isn't real. There's no person that can do this. This is some AI stuff, right? What is this? So figured out that the 5-minute clip had been taken from a 60 Minutes episode that talked about him. And really fascinating story. So I started to go down this rabbit hole wanting to learn more about him. Found out that he had a lifelong teacher named Adam who had written a book about their experiences together called In the Key of Genius. And I devoured the book and just fell in love with the story. I mean, I think as a musician, there were a lot of connecting points, but I think what you had said earlier on really struck a chord with me too about this idea of the power of mentorship and teachers. I've been fortunate to have great teachers all my life in various ways, like music teachers in the classroom and outside. And yeah, this story really spoke to me. So reached out to Adam, he's a professor in London, got the rights to the book. And the process actually started off by me writing a feature screenplay for the thing. So there's a full movie in the works we can talk about later. And just after years of trying to figure out how to get that feature made, I just felt that I needed to make a short film version of it, both as just a standalone story to celebrate this amazing teacher-student relationship, but also as a proof of concept for the future.
Yeah. And what instrument did you say you played? You play?
Violin.
So you've been around. So is this your first time kind of dabbling into filmmaking and music being a part of that?
Yeah, going hardcore into it. I've done some music videos, but in terms of short films, this is the first time I've really gotten into music. And for me, it was really a light bulb going off. I was like, why have I not made a music-focused story before as a short film? Because it's such a big part of my life, and the two loves of my life, filmmaking and music, coming together in this thing. yeah, there was a lot to do there.
Was it hard to get a hold of him and kind of get the rights to the book? And was that a difficult process?
It surprisingly was not. So I found his email online, did a little internet sleuthing, sent him a note, told him who I was. We got on a Zoom, and I think because I'm also a musician and can speak about music and my experiences playing in orchestras and things like that, like we instantly connected on that level with Adam. And we definitely had to have multiple conversations to talk about, okay, what could this process look like? What am I looking to do? Um, how does Hollywood work? Like how does filmmaking even work? This has been his first experience with it. Um, but we really hit it off from day one, and I've always kept Adam and Derek very involved in this process. For me, the primary goal has always been to do right by them in terms of
Right.
telling their story authentically and truly honoring them. And so for me, that has meant including them. Adam read every draft of the script that I wrote. I flew out to London to meet with the two of them, brought my violin out, and got to jam with Derek, which was like one of the coolest music things I've ever done in my
Oh,
life.
that's awesome. Sounds
Uh,
intimidating.
I've seen Derek perform. Yeah, I mean, kind of. Like I showed up. And I meet Derek, and I'm there with Adam, and I say, I've prepped a couple pieces of music. Do you think he knows them? And Adam was like, he probably knows them. Just start playing. So I just started playing these things, and within 5 notes or so, Derek figured out what I was playing and just joined in. It's just nuts.
And you're like, man, that
Like these
60
things that I
minutes
like
piece really
meticulously
was real.
practiced, many, many times. He just was like, just could do it.
That's crazy. What?
Nuts.
Give me a sense of the timeline. Like, when did this start, and like, how long did it take to kind of get it off the ground?
I mean, this whole process has been years. I've been living with the future version of this for years. And the project has had a long life at various studios. It was optioned by E1 and then ended up at Lionsgate. So it's had this whole like life as a feature, and now is actually coming together as like an independent feature film, which I think is probably the way it should have been made this entire time. Like the studio thing was cool, but in today's world, especially, I don't think studios are making movies like this. It's usually they're made independently, and then they might sell to a streamer at a film festival or something like that.
If there was like a
So it's probably the
if there was
better
a
way to
superhero in it,
better
they'd
way to
probably
go. But what's that?
if there was like a superhero and a bunch of CGI, they'd probably go for it.
It's true. It's
So
true. I mean, part of it is just the reality of what people are willing to shell out movie ticket dollars for. I think the era of people going to see independent movies in the theater, which I still love to do to this day. I mean, I think the problem now is like you can watch a lot of that stuff at home. So people are oftentimes going to the theater to see big spectacle stuff, and it's just the reality of the business right now.
when do you think that started to happen?
I think the pandemic certainly was a big part of it. I, I think that combined with the rise of the streaming era and like Netflix starting to create these, really intricate, expensive series, and then other streamers following on that. I think as we talk about the golden era of television that has existed, maybe 5, 10 years ago, just the quality of what became available at home just skyrocketed. And I think that, and then you have the pandemic where like literally nobody could go to the theater, everybody's stuck at home watching stuff on the screen. People's patterns changed. And certainly a lot of people have come back to the movie theaters. I think there's still a great movie audience, but I think it's shifted. In the 90s, independent cinema, like people were going to movies all the time to see independent movies. There was
Right.
a real business there, and that now is really difficult. Yeah, so I think there's really two big things that have happened in the last decade. So the rise of streaming is certainly one,
Right.
and with that comes a lot of stuff. Like, so there's a lot more content that's available at home now, but there's also just the quality level of what has been out on streamers has skyrocketed. We talk about the golden era of television for the last 10 years or so. So that's certainly one of those things. I think the pandemic is another one. You had a couple of years where people couldn't go to the theater, so they were watching everything at home, and people got used to watching certain movies that way. And certainly, audiences have come back in really exciting ways. But I don't know that the independent movie audiences ever have fully come back. For certain movies, they'll come out, but it's a very different picture now than it was, say, even 10 years ago.
What do you think is like the closest thing to that that's come out that's made a splash that was it kind of broke through. I was watching The Smashing Machine last night. That seems like kind of like
Hmm.
that genre. Uh, does that kind of fit the mold or no?
It does. I mean, it's definitely more of an art house film. So I think A24 to some degree has had some success doing
Yeah.
it. But they almost are like a mini studio at this point. So I don't even know that I would call those
I get.
independent
Yeah,
films.
I guess when you have
You know?
Dwayne Johnson in it, it's kind of like in a different
Right, right,
category,
right,
right? Um,
right. But I think even that movie, I think box office wise has had challenges. Like I
oh,
don't,
it didn't do well at
yeah,
all.
like I don't know, I don't know, yeah, like I don't think that they're looking at that as like a box office success at all.
No, not at all. Um, and I'm a big MMA guy. Like
Oh yeah,
I trained my whole life. I did the amateur circuit. I went pro. I have you can't see it, but
no
I
way.
got a belt over here. Like it's a big part of my life.
Whoa.
Actually, are you into MMA at all?
Not really. I just
Casual.
I really like the movie Warrior.
Yeah,
And
but
I
that's
still need
another
to
one
see the
that
Smashing Machine.
they when you're really close to something, and I'm gonna tie this back to Key of Genius. It's very hard to appease the hardcore fan. Like, there's never really been an MMA movie that's done it right. I'm sure, like as a musician, like because you're into that, like you are paying closer attention to things that other musicians, and because of the content of the story, a lot of attention is probably built into making sure it's pure and authentic. Where back to the MMA thing, they do things, and I'm like, dude, we would never do that. Like, who's signing off on this?
Yeah.
That is not how you do that.
Yeah, and that like that checks you out of the movie. By the way, I'm
Yeah,
the same way. Yeah, like when I see music not done authentically or right in a movie, I just want to turn it off. I don't
yeah,
want to deal with it.
yeah.
And there's certainly some examples. I think like Whiplash is a movie that does music really
Oh,
right.
dude, one of my favorites.
Because the director is a drummer, and actually knows that world.
I didn't know that,
But
but
when
it
it's
makes
not done
sense.
right, it sucks.
Yeah. With R. Simmons, what was his name? Dude, he did amazing in that movie.
Oh, J.K.
J.K.
Simmons. Yeah,
Simmons,
J.K.
dude,
Simmons is so
amazing.
intense. Yeah.
How did you cast for Key of Genius?
So the big challenge is always the kid. We'll get to that in a second. We started with the adults. So there's the teacher role and there's the mom role. So with the teacher role, I started to talk to some of my manager and agent friends, and one of my good manager friends happened to rep Gavin Stenhouse, who I've been a fan of for a long time. I actually didn't know he was British though. He's always played Americans. He's been in a bunch of TV shows. He was in Black Mirror, but as an American, didn't realize he was a British guy. He's been living in LA for a long time, working a lot of shows, and he even looks a little bit like Adam did at the time. And he also happens to play the piano. There was like all these things that like came together.
Nice.
So he was a no brainer. For the mom role, we ran an audition process, and Lauren Samuels, who we cast, just blew away everybody. It's just incredible from the very first thing that she sent in. The challenge is always how do you cast Derek? So here we have a
Right.
blind, autistic, piano playing boy who is between 6 and 8 years old. How do you cast that? Like
Right.
what do you do? How do you cast that with any degree of authenticity? So step one for me was I brought on board this amazing casting director. Her name is Danielle Pretzfelder Demchek. She's based out of New York, and she very much specializes in casting underrepresented communities, kids, the disabled people. So she obviously fell in love with this story. Like, was really excited about the opportunity. And I said, how do we find this kid? And she said, you're filming in LA, but we shouldn't just limit this to LA. Like, this kid could be somewhere else, somewhere in the middle of the country, somewhere on the
Right.
East Coast. It could be anywhere. We should do a nationwide search.
Yeah.
So she cast a really wide net, the typical avenues like reaching out to reps, but also she started going on Facebook groups, parents of uh, blind kids and things like that. And we found this incredible kid, Cannon Wood, in Ohio, of all places. He didn't have much acting experience at all. He'd never been on like a movie set, but in the first audition, essentially the way I was auditioning people was for the Derek role. He doesn't really say much in the movie. He has one line because as a kid, Derek barely spoke at all, uh, which was an important part of this that he really doesn't speak. It's a lot of like nonverbal communication. So a lot of it was about mannerisms. And so there were all these things that Cannon did in the tape that he sent in that just his instincts are great. So that was part one, is like, what are his instincts like? And then number two was getting on a Zoom with him and seeing how he takes direction. Like if he's doing things this way and I give him, a direction to go that way, can he do it? And he would just do it on a dime.
So is Cannon, is he vision impaired?
He's blind.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fully blind. He
I mean,
was born with
that's
Nori
another way to
disease, which
say the
left
same thing.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was blind within the first few months of his life because he has this thing called Nori disease.
Wow.
And that for me just gave it such a level of authenticity. Just the way he even like physically moves around a space, having to feel things to get places. It's stuff that you and I probably don't really think about, but like you
Right.
get into his headspace working with him, and you start to understand all these things. Uh, and that was so important to being able to tell Derek's story as authentically as possible.
So
And
why
then
was
beyond that, we good.
sorry. So why was that important to you to have somebody who is authentically blind? Because I
I
mean
think
that
just to
didn't make
tell
it
the
any easier,
story.
right?
Yeah, I think just like out of respect for Derek and just I mean authenticity. I mean, you just said it. Like I think authenticity is truly the thing. Um, could we have cast somebody just to act the role? Sure, but I don't know. I think it would have felt false. I don't
Yeah.
think it would have felt real in the way that it does with canon. And I was going for just how do we make this extremely real? And one of the things that really opened my eyes when I was first talking to Adam about this, that really just like it changed my viewpoint on this like whole concept of what is a savant. And this is one thing I loved about his book, is that we've all heard about savants, people that have incredible abilities and they can do these amazing things. But what is oftentimes shortchanged in that conversation is the amount of hard work that went
Right.
into getting somebody there.
Right.
Derek certainly was born with some incredible gifts. He has an amazing ear and a phenomenal memory, and those things combined make him a phenomenal musician. But he needed the right teacher. He needed the right person to believe in him, to spend years and years, and still to this very day, like Adam travels with him to concerts, like he's still in his life. I think he needed somebody like that to help realize those gifts.
Yeah.
And just like all those little like authenticity details, is just like it needs to feel real in that way. And casting a kid who is blind and can bring that physicality to the set and in front of the camera, it I think made a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I definitely I was able to watch the film. I absolutely loved it. Um, and you're currently in.
Sure.
I don't really know what the circuit means. I mean, I have an idea. I mean, I'm like filmmaker adjacent. I'm in media, and I make videos and content. But when people talk about the film circuit, like, how do you explain what the circuit is?
Sure. So for short films, I mean, there's a zillion film festivals out there, right? And some are better than others. There's local festivals, there's nationwide festivals, there's international festivals. And so the first order of business is figuring out, okay, how do you even start to target what are potentially right festivals for
Right.
this? Um, and what are better festivals and what are potentially the right fit festivals? Because like for example, like the film is playing on Saturday in Belgium at a film festival called the Extraordinary Film Festival, which is all about disability stories. Okay, so that's a perfect fit for that
Yeah.
festival, right? We played at a film festival in London, which was super right because Derek and Adam live in London. Like they got to come to the screening, all this kind of stuff. But for me, I always felt that if we do this movie right, um, that we should really try to target top tier festivals. And one way to really understand what those are, like a very easy metric by which to figure that out, is there's a number of festivals that are considered Oscar qualifying, where if you play there, if you win there, you can qualify for potential the Oscar run. And so the film has played at a number of those. It started off in Cleveland, which is a great festival. Then it was in Rain Dance, which was the London one, and it played at Holly Shorts here in LA. Those are all Oscar qualifying festivals. It's played at a number of other places as well. Like it's playing in Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. Um, But that for me was always like, all right, aim high and let's see what happens. Uh, and the film now is actually like it's actually qualified for a potential Academy run, and so Academy voters can vote on it at this point because of it being qualified. And so we'll see what happens with that.
No,
You know,
that's awesome.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
How political does that get? I would imagine it gets very political.
I mean, listen, there's a whole campaign process, and the way this came about is there was a PR company that saw the film, loved it, felt it could be right for it, and has been really getting it out there in front of voters and in front of press. You know, I've done a number of interviews and podcast things, and yeah, so there's a whole campaign even for short films, like there are for feature films, and I have loved just being a fly on the wall, just seeing what this process is like because I've never been exposed to it before.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of in that boat where I'm so interested in it. I talked to Dan about it a while ago because it's always been something, that I've made like, like most, kids with a camera, like shorts and this idea. And I'm actually working. So I work at Long Beach City College. And one of our goals as a media team, because we're all, uh, you know, uh, in the industry, as creatives, but we want to do a short film on a student, and like our big thing is like we want to bring it in the festival. So I already told Dan I'm gonna have to pick his brain a lot about how to go about that because I know we'll make something really really special, but after that it's like you don't know what you don't know type deal. Um,
Yeah.
what's
There's a whole like film festivals and awards, like there's a whole universe to all of that stuff.
yeah, what's the is Sundance still the gold standard?
Listen, Sundance is great. Sundance is a very North American focused film festival, very like American film. So interestingly, like for this, well, it would have been great to for us to apply to Sundance, and we missed the deadline because of when the film was done. I think because of the British story that it tells, I don't know that it's the right fit for Sundance.
What
You
what kind
know,
of
so that's one of those where it's like it's a great festival, might not be the right fit.
what, what kind of what kind of films typically do well in Sundance?
I mean, listen, it changes year after year, but it's a very like America, like North American focused festival. Whereas there's there's other festivals that are a bit more like international. So like Toronto is like a major, Toronto international festival. Like Cannes is a big international festival. It's not to say that Sundance won't program stuff from overseas and things like that. They certainly do, and whatnot. But I think it is a more North American focused festival than some of the other ones.
What's the biggest festival so far for Key
Dust
Genius?
Festival.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would say, listen, Cleveland was awesome. I had a blast at the one in London, Rain Dance, just because Derek and Adam got to be
Oh, I'm
there.
sure.
And then Holly Shorts in LA was nuts because we got to play at the Chinese theater and played to a sold out
I
audience
really
on a
wanted to make that
giant,
too.
giant screen,
That's awesome.
which that was awesome.
That's super cool. I was telling Dan,
Yeah.
I really like. I'm just gonna speak it into existence. But one thing that I uh, love about the film, obviously, is that it was filmed at Bellflower High School, which I represent, and I love the idea of students seeing their space, like their environment, showcased in such a way that inspires them, right? And and that was kind of like my thought in the very beginning when I first talked to Dan about it. I think it's really important for students to have campus pride and have pride in their school, make it a better place for them to be in. And then I'm speaking in existence. I think it'd be really great to have a screening at the high school, like in the auditorium where the stage room, music room where it's filmed, to have students come and like be inspired and watch the film. So I'm speaking
Would
that
love
in
that. Let's do
existence.
it. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool, and then maybe like have like some of the film students there, like be able to ask questions, and I just think it's so cool. I remember when I was in high school, they filmed American. So Lakewood and Milliken are two local high schools. I went to Lakewood, but they're the exact same campus. Like they look the exact same. They're almost like carbon copies of
Oh,
each other,
really?
but one of them's 2 miles away, and it's kind of like a Springfield and what's Springfield, and there's the other one that's like the exact same thing. It's like a part of The Simpsons. Anyway, it's like that type of situation. But they
Mhm.
filmed American Pie at the one that's not mine, and I remember that I
Uh-huh.
thought that was so cool, because like when I'd see
Yeah.
it, I'm like, man, it kind of looks like my school, but I just thought it made Milliken that much cooler because it was like
Mhm.
seen as a like people wanted to film there. Like that was a place where
Yeah.
actors were, and there was a little bit of envy there. But I think that like opening up public spaces and campuses to more film opportunities is very important.
Yeah, listen, we had an amazing experience at that school. Love that place. It was a big challenge of how do you shoot in Southern California, a place that's supposed to look like it's taking place in England in the 1980s. So we had a British production designer with an eye to those details because, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not British. Uh,
I don't know, man.
and
British people do a
yeah, that
really good
school.
American accent, so you could be just doing a really good American
I
accent.
mean, I'm never in front of the camera though. I like to direct actors, but I'm certainly not one. Uh, Yeah, and, like, that school, it just, like, had, like, the right elements of, like, there's, like, the brick and just, I don't know, like, a lot of people watch the film who are British, and they're like, "Where did you film this? This looks spot on." And it's like, "Southern California, Bellflower High School."
Nice. And it was a good filming experience, like all around.
I mean, it was awesome. Yeah, like, had such great cooperation from the school district, and just had the ability to use the spaces how we wanted to, and yeah, love doing it.
No, I'm so glad that that all worked out and it turned out amazing, man. So now it's like a academy, like this is the season, right? Like for all the big stuff. So when do they vote on like who gets
Yeah, there's
in?
apparent apparently, like, the voting is underway. There's, like, I think or not the voting's not underway yet. I believe it's available to watch for Academy voters, and then there's, like, a voting period at some point in December. There's, like, a first phase for short films where, 15 get selected as shortlisted films as, like, the first batch, and then there's, like, another vote, I think.
How
I don't know,
many
I'm still learning about this process.
academy voters are there? Like hundreds, or is it like a
So I
committee?
think from what I understand, there's a specific group for short films that is not part of the regular Academy. So like all the people that vote for, best picture, best screenplay and all that stuff, like that's not the short film group. The short film group is smaller and I don't know how you become a part of that group. I think it's more than hundreds, but it's much smaller than the overall Academy base.
Nice. Man, I was telling Dan, I'll tell you, I feel like I'm kind of living vicariously through the success of this thing. So I'm rooting, every chance I get. Every time I see you guys posting stuff on Instagram and just pumping it, man, I just, I want to keep pushing it
Listen,
uh,
you're a part of this, so let's enjoy the ride.
yeah. I know it's the first time I've had a credit, dude. I was pumped.
Well deserved.
Oh, I'm just glad I was able to just connect some dots and help it out. Because again, like I mean, kind of like it's right up my alley because I'm incredibly like if you saw the whole studio, like there's guitars everywhere. I've been a musician my whole life, toured in
Yeah.
Europe. Like I would consider myself a
Well,
musician, uh, but
love
I'm
that.
also incredibly into film and incredibly into the school district as an elected official and incredibly into wanting to see my friends succeed. So all those things like combined, I'm like, yeah, what can I do? So it just makes
No, and
sense.
like seriously, like that school was everything. So huge thanks on that.
Nah, dude, you guys did a great job, man. I'm gonna ask you a question I asked Dan because he gave a really good answer. Combining kind of film and music, what would you say is the best score, the most impactful score to a movie? What movie has the most
Oh man. Oh
impactful score?
boy. This is
Well, I'll let you off the
that's
like
a
I let Dan off. It doesn't have to be your forever answer, just like an answer in the moment.
yeah. Um I'm gonna change your question a little bit to make it easier for me to
All
answer.
right.
I'll tell you a recent score that I experienced again that I really loved, because it is a music-focused film. I love the Pixar movie Coco,
Yeah.
and, the way music is at the heart of that story.
Yeah.
And the way, like, the guitar is used both to create music, but also, like, as a symbol of things. It represents so many different things,
Hmm.
and it's just yeah, I love that music, and I watched it recently with my 3.5-year-old, uh, and I hadn't watched it in years. Like, yeah, I was really really moved by that score. Do I think it's my favorite of all? I don't know that it's my favorite of
No.
all time, but it's
Right.
a recent one that I've watched that I really liked.
Right. What in the follow up? What movie has a song that uh, defined the movie the most? I'll tell you my answer. I think of the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington. The have you seen that
Mm,
one? So there's a movie. It's like
yeah,
time is on my side. So when I hear that song, it like, oh, that's that movie. Like it captured that movie, like what it meant. Uh,
yeah. I mean, I think it's got to be Celine Dion, Titanic, right? I
oh
mean,
yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, that's an
like
easy
I don't know.
one.
That
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me is,
yeah. But yeah, you're
you,
spot on. Yeah,
I think that for me is the one where like you even hear that little like flute thing or whatever
yeah,
that little like thing that starts it off. You hear that and
uh-huh.
you're just like instantly brought into that.
Yeah. I'll probably insert that into the clip, like as you say,
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
when
You
I edit
should.
it.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah. Do 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 do. Yeah,
will.
whatever. Yeah.
I mean, do I know you're traveling tonight, tomorrow, right? I think both you and
Yeah, I
Dan are
fly out
traveling.
tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to go to New York because the film is screening there. So yeah, really excited for
Dude,
that.
you go everywhere with like it's like a like it's a lot. It seems like it's a
It is
lot.
a lot. I mean, it's kind of crazy for like a 12-minute film, right?
Right, right.
But there's a we always do like Q and A's after these things. There's a lot to talk about. And people a lot of people are really fascinated to learn more about Derek and Adam and about the larger story. And there's just so much there. It's like yes, we had to like compress a lot of stuff in 12 minutes and pick and choose which elements of the overall story we're going to tell, and that in the feature version there's much more.
Yeah.
But I found people just they watch it and then like they want to know more about him and more about Adam and more about the family. Derek's family story is insane, and like this is a recent thing that came up. His aunt is the Queen of England. Queen Camilla
Okay.
is Derek's aunt.
It's a nice little kicker.
Um, not too bad, right?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, this is so crazy. I was talking to one of our British EPs, and he was like, "Write her a letter. Let her know about it." It's like, "What do you what? Is
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what people in London do? Like, you just
Just
write?"
write the
He's
Queen
like,
of
"Yeah, write
England.
a letter." So I wrote a letter. I was like, "I'll never hear from the other side," and I got a letter back,
No
and
way.
it was from her, I guess her like private secretary, and said that she was delighted to hear about the film and to please keep her posted on future London screenings, and that maybe she would come to the next one. I was like, "Okay,
That's
cool."
awesome. Dude, even just
It's like, "We'll
the
see."
chance of that happening is awesome. Do they like I feel like if I was the Queen of England, when I send a letter, I'd probably use like a wax seal and just
Oh, yeah, it came in a
like
very fancy envelope,
I bet.
like, the nicest paper I've
You
ever
save it?
seen. I also sent my letter like, I went out and bought nice
Oh, you
stationery to I
you,
did, I was
you
like, "I
did
need
up
to do
yours.
this properly." I had
Yeah.
honestly, I had ChatGPT give me some
Yeah.
tips on, like, what to do,
You were
you
doing
know?
calligraphy. You're just trying to really fancy it up.
Yeah, no, I certainly had a printer do all the work for me because I can't write to save my life, but, yeah, I was like, "I'm gonna buy the fanciest paper I've ever bought in my
Right,
life," you
right.
know? So,
It's like cardboard.
but I
Yeah.
can promise you that her paper was much, much fancier
I'm
than mine.
sure. I'm sure. I'd be disappointed if
Yeah,
it wasn't. Well,
right.
that's what I loved about the story. Even when Dan first mentioned it, it's like you the more you like watch, because there's a couple things on. I think was it 60 Minutes. There was something I watched on Derek, um, and
Mhm.
it's just like the more you learn, the more you're interested. It's like you don't. It's not an appetizer dish where you're like, okay, I get it, and you move on. There's a lot of depth and a lot of like real emotion and a lot of just like your imagination kind of goes wild and like the questions pop up of like all the struggles and how it must have been. So So you
Mhm.
mentioned a feature. Are you talking about taking the short and making it into the feature?
Yeah, so there's a whole feature script that actually predates the short. That many of the scenes in the short are taken actually from that feature script. And so right now we're putting it together as like an independent movie. Hopefully, will be in production at some point in the spring of next year. That's what we're targeting right now. Um, but yeah, it allows us to tell much more of the story, get into Derek's family life a bit more, get into Adam's life a bit more. It's just, the way I like talking about it is the short film is like truly an appetizer, but
Yeah,
there's like a much bigger, 3 course, 7 course, 10 course meal there to follow.
that's exciting. Uh, so one more question for you. It's, so this podcast is really about building community, and as more and more of the students in our district are starting to watch, one thing I like to ask guests are what's one, not advice, but like what's one thing that you've learned as somebody who's been through some years, that you wish you can go back and tell your, say, 17, 18-year-old self, like, hey, like, this is something you need to know. Like, you're gonna learn, but you need to know.
So it actually goes back to the music thing that you were asking about earlier. I wish I had made a music focused movie earlier. It's the old like write what you know thing. I've heard that phrase my whole life, and never fully embraced it until now.
Why do you,
And
why do you think that is? Why do you think you didn't go that route earlier?
I think it's just because I've always loved just all sorts of different movies, and I've written many different things over the years. I've written sci-fi, I've written family stuff, I've written, like just a lot of different genres and things. Um, and I always just did music. I just didn't really think about writing about it. And like it's one of those things where like you think about it like, dummy, what were you doing? Like, of course you should have been writing about music. Like, this thing so well. Like, why not write about this? Took me a while to figure that out.
Wow. Dude, Daniel, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everything that you've done with this, and I'm again, I'm gonna bring it up to Dan again. I think, and I actually have talked to our superintendent about it too, and she's excited. We gotta do a screening, get the kids involved, and you know, you guys have crazy busy schedules and young kids at home just like me. So, uh, I are you down?
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Awesome,
100%. By the way,
awesome.
Dan asked me about this, or maybe you did a few months ago, and I said, yes, let's figure out a time, of course.
I know I'm one of those guys who won't take yes for an answer. I'm going to keep talking about it like it's Dan said he's down too, uh, but we're going to make it happen. Uh, Daniel Persitz, man, thank you. So, do I say your last name correctly?
Almost. Persitz. Yeah.
Persitz. I asked ChatGPT how to say your last name. That's how.
ChatGPT.
Dude.
Yeah.
You know what? I thought it did.
It's all good, man.
So,
Persitz. Yeah. Like think of like a cat saying purr.
actually, now that I think about it, it did tell me. Dude, thank you
Yeah.
so much,
Or
man.
maybe I've instructed it since. Yeah. Thanks, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.